Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar, Pop In, Pop Up, Pop Out. Today's webinar is brought to you by the Illinois Main Street, produced by In Alliance as an in-training webinar. My name is Todd Tracy. I will be your host today. Before we get started, let's just have a short little housekeeping. This webinar is intent to be very interactive. The presentation you're requested and to have questions and we'll answer as we go along. The end of the session, there will definitely be time built in to have extensive question and answer session. It's very simple. Raise your hand. You can use your voice over microphone on your computer, or you were provided with a call-in number, which you can use that. Or what a lot of people like to use is simply just type your question into the chat function. I will reread the question so that everybody can know what the question is, and I'll provide an answer to you. Today's presentation will be recorded, and it will be hosted on the Illinois Main Street website very shortly after. My contact information is in front of you. This will be on the final slide of the presentation, but feel free to contact me at my phone or email post-webinar to discuss anything further. Today's topic involves pop-up business. For all practical purposes, it's one of the newest forms of businesses, formats that have been increasing in popularity for the last decade or two. It's difficult to understand probably just exactly where they did start up. We see a lot more of them in Europe, principally in France and England, London and Paris particularly. It was a way of business owners to inexpensively open up a business, try their product line out, and reach high traffic areas for customers where they otherwise might not be able to afford other places. So I'm going to give just a brief definition of a pop-up business for those of you that are not familiar with it, and give you some examples that what might apply to your Main Street program. Typically, a pop-up business is a business that's using an empty or underused space, which we'll talk about that more as we proceed. By definition, a pop-up, and with the title of this webinar is Pop Out, typically it has a very short time frame. The business owner may know what that time frame is when they go in to their business. It may be a seasonal related, where they will bring the product in 30 to 60 days prior to the holiday event and then leave shortly before or shortly after the holiday. It has no aim for permanence. It's mainly used just to gain quick cash or test the market. Statistically, we see about half the businesses going in just as a business venture to obtain quick cash based upon, the product line and inventory that they're carrying, and about the other half are wanting to test their brand in the market to see how it would bear. Another definition of a pop-up is it typically is very mobile. It can and when it's mobile, literally in some pop-up businesses they literally are on wheels. It's not uncommon in certain venues to have businesses out of a van, out of a camper type situation, or a truck, to where they can move from spot to spot. And then the not so mobile is they merely pack up their shelving, pack up their decorations, and pack up their inventory and move it to another location. One key of a pop-up business is also it's very exclusive and distinct or special. Their customer base is most definitely unique. Typically, the customer base oftentimes does not have the ability to buy the particular product at any other location, so therefore the pop-up business has oftentimes a captured market. A pop-up shop versus a traditional shop is pretty straightforward. Again, it's very short-term as versus a traditional shop of long-term leasing. The pop-up shop may or may not have utilities that they have to pay for. If they do, it's a lot of time built into their lease space because it's very difficult sometimes for a company to protect itself from other, I'm not saying protect itself, but it's very difficult for them to get a contract with a utility company when they're going to be on a very short-term basis. Typically, it's is limited. It has very direct sales. It's very focused in its sales, and it has a very focused customer as to where a typical retail or traditional shop will be very comprehensive in the customers that it's targeting. Another thing, sometimes when discussing pop-ups with Main Street communities, they often forget that these are often staffed, and it's not uncommon for them to be staffed by volunteers or family members, different from a traditional shop where they have more conventional type employment. They tend to be youthful in nature. They do a team approach to how that they adapt their business model. The daily adaptability is something that we see very unique in the pop-up business, in the fact that it's not uncommon for inventory to change in a pop-up business from week to week. They perhaps are buying wholesale lots of inventory, perhaps they're buying overruns and that type of thing, and they constantly are selling product in a way that meets not only where they're able to pick up from their vendors, and they're able to channel it back to their customers in a variety of ways, and they adapt on the fly, quite common. The temporary location is usually divided among three very distinct categories. One is permanent temporary, and these are often locations that are dedicated to pop-up style businesses. These can be very unique in the Main Street district. They could be a corner lot. They could be a building that maybe even is used for more of an incubator style format. But nonetheless, they are geared specifically for coming and going businesses with the strategy to keep them updated and keep them fresh throughout the year. Of course, one that we like to see in the Main Street community is a vacant building reuse. This is becoming very more popular since 2008 with the economic downturn, and especially with the real estate downturn per se. A lot of building owners have looked to short-term leasing in order to recapture some of their cost of the building. It's proved quite beneficial to the startup entrepreneur, or to the pop-up entrepreneur. They definitely can get into a substantial building, get into sometimes a little bit larger space, and without some of the major overhead. And the major overhead is typically the long-term lease. The month-to-month leases is very attractive to the pop-up venture, and they're able to use on that. Of course, lastly, what we call the temporary, and this is just places around the Main Street district that can be used for a pop-up business. They literally can be a sidewalk. They literally can be just a building owner that's in between leaseholders and is willing to give the space out for a couple, 3 months to somebody to try a business venture. They could be an area, a green space per se, that's dedicated from time to time to these pop-up businesses for the community. There's different types of businesses that go into a pop-up. Probably the most frequently used that we see, of course, is the retail. In this particular photo here, this is a variety shop. She has a lot of unique items, all handcrafted. Even has locally grown and developed items there also for sale. This particular venture was used as an example to show that there could be and would be a market for locally made products and artisan type products. and it was needed serious amounts of capitalization in order to get the business venture going. So the lady worked with her partners and worked very short-term leases in a variety of vacant buildings around the community in order to achieve some sort of success to demonstrate to the lenders further on to finance her operation. Brand feasibility. As I mentioned earlier in the webinar, this is something that is a very good tool to use to the emerging entrepreneur that is not quite sure about their product line, their service line. They want to test it, and how better to test it than to actually put it into the hands of available customers. And this comes from a variety of ways that they do this. One, there's documentation of pop-up businesses literally not selling anything, merely just giving tests and examples and samples out to the foot traffic coming and going from near the pop-up business, and of course others all out selling and achieving some sort of feedback from their customers as to how they like the particular product. This photo in front of you was a business that is looking at doing a variety of household scents, specifically targeting apartments. I thought it was kind of a unique concept that they have. Of course, some of the pop-ups that we see throughout Illinois Main Street communities that probably are the most frequent in our state is the seasonal type businesses. One's targeting most commonly Halloween and Christmas, as well as a variety of other holidays that are out there. These type of businesses are very good for the type of inventory they can, because it's very specialized. It's tied to the holiday, and sees little, if any, sales throughout the rest of the year. So within 30 days prior to the holiday, they are able to capitalize on that particular market and can do quite well. And what I like to see, especially around the Christmas time, with it being a high retail market, is for this particular business to be flourishing in the downtown in the Christmas time, because it just brings a lot more foot traffic to your downtown. It's something that should definitely be encouraged, to put up as many Christmas shops as the district can handle. Another type of example is the culinary. Using a term sometimes that has a negative feeling, is the roach bus, the roach van type concept. However, we're hoping that the pop-up business definitely has a better understanding of culinary and safety standards that go along with proper food preparation and distribution, and we see this quite often. And this particular photo in front of you is literally a pop-up building, and these are very easy to make. This was handmade by a relative of this particular building owner here, or this business owner, to fit her particular needs to service this market area within a urban district. So food prep. What I also like about the culinary pop-up is, especially when we're working with rural main streets, we often find that one of their targets that they're looking for is to bringing a restaurant to their district, and this gives a restaurant the ability to test the market. If they could be coaxed into doing some sort of a pop-up style business, either in a physical building or more in this particular instance here, where we see a more temporary and more portable type business, it gives the restaurant entrepreneur the ability to expand to a community that might be a county over or a city over, or wherever they might be. It gives them the ability to expand into a community with very little capital costs and minimizing their risk. And lastly, one that we don't see too often, these are very popular in areas in the southern United States. They're also popular in California. Of course, they're very popular overseas in Europe, is to have a pop-up business space available for entertainment. And entertainment can also be backslash with the arts, a place where local, regional artists can display their work, by merely renting space. The entrepreneur in this particular case would either be the building owner or would be another entrepreneur simply leasing the space and subleasing it out on a nightly basis or weekly basis to other individuals to conduct their entertainment. One that we like to see is with the limited availabilities of live entertainment from in this day and age, especially in the rural markets. When you talk to nightclubs and you talk to restaurants and bar owners and tavern owners, they often tell us that we just can't afford the band. We've tried to do cover charges and it just limits the amount of people that attend. So we've just gotten away from the live entertainment and gone more with the DJ type settings. This gives the opportunity for the local band to achieve some notoriety as a notice because they have a place that they can go at any time just by merely getting onto the roster to rent, and it brings traffic to your downtown. And the pop-up entrepreneur in this case either takes a rent charge from the band or takes a percentage of the cover charge or whatever that might work out with minimal risk on all parties in reducing their costs. So what are the benefits to Main Street? Well, of course, first and foremost, these short-term leases that you can arrange with pop-up entrepreneurs, it definitely decreases the appearance of those vacancies. It gives life in areas where it might otherwise be dark in that corner of town. Of course, with the increasing freshness of new businesses popping in and popping out all the time, it will give a freshness to your district to where that the foot traffic can be increased. Of course, it diversifies your district. As mentioned earlier, typically a pop-up business has a very unique product or service that they are selling. It oftentimes is not carried, or if it is, it's not carried in the likeness in which it's sold at the pop-up business by any other business in your Main Street. So it definitely gives you a more of a diversity. What a business, especially your ER committee, should be considering is when they're struggling to develop viable economic projects, this gives another tool in their arsenal to say that we offer space for pop-ups, and it gives the ability for businesses to test the market in that particular district. And that is a very inviting concept for that entrepreneur that is not maybe able or willing to take the risk necessary with their business idea. And as I mentioned earlier, especially with the culinary pop-up type business, is it allows the district to test outside entrepreneurs to test that district out to see if it is viable for them. It gives them 2-3 months to say, hey, okay, this business can go here, and now I want to look for something more permanent in the district. I want you to just take you through briefly what actually goes through the mind of a pop-up entrepreneur. They are slightly different than a typical entrepreneur, and these are the reasons why. A pop-up entrepreneur looks often at their concept planning based upon a story that they want to tell or around something that they have available to them that they want to sell. The story that they may want to tell definitely lends itself to the branding concept. Worked with a company a while back. This particular company did not do a pop-up business, but definitely did consider it. And looking back on it, I wish that they had pursued it a little bit harder now. But this particular company had a new type of product that allowed the cell phone and small electronic equipments to be protected better in rain and the elements, and it had a very attractive cover to it. Could be used in very much business situations, could be used on night on the town situations as well as around the home and the office. And he didn't pursue it very far because he didn't get a lot of good feedback from family and friends on it. But it definitely, he had a story to tell about he'd worked in a cell phone company for quite some time a retail, and he had seen so many broken phones brought into him, and he had seen people that didn't have insurance on their phones. He really felt bad for these people about how to protect their phones a little bit better, as well as something that wasn't bulky and very attractive. And he came up with a product that many of us thought was very, very neat. He is now marketing it to more of a nationwide distributorship now. So he did not do the pop-up, but it definitely would have lent itself to that type of venue. A pop-up entrepreneur is also going to look at what their particular purpose that they have. An entrepreneur, when they typically get into the business, they have with a traditional style business, they have the willingness to want to make cash, wanting to make extra cash, or the willingness to want to be a stepping stone to other business venture. A pop-up entrepreneur may have some of those ideas associated with them, but oftentimes they realize that they have been provided with something. They came across some surplus inventory or what have you. Worked in a community not too long ago just outside of a military base. That particular military base had just their troops had just returned stateside, and a lot of them were on their final term. They were being repopulated back into their homes, and they had a lot of extra military goods. So it's the old concept of the Army Navy type slope. Well, this young gentleman saw this as definitely a time to pick up some of the surplus, and he bought literally 3 truckloads, and we're not talking pickup truckloads, but full-size 18-wheeler truck load full of surplus garments and different things like that from the military. And he had never seen himself. He'd never been in the military, and never saw himself running a Army Navy store per se, but definitely saw himself, selling this in a pop-up style business, and it's what he continued to do. Oftentimes, trying out a new location is something that the pop-up entrepreneur wants to do. It may be your district in general, or it may be a new location in your district, or it may be moving from outside, from the outskirts of your community more to your downtown, just to give it an idea. And last but not least, they're wanting to try out their business idea. So many entrepreneurs, especially emerging entrepreneurs, are not sure if they are willing or have the ability to take the risk that's associated with starting a business in today's world. But they still have the gumption about them to want to pursue it. The pop-up business allows them to reduce that risk as minimally as can be possible. Lastly, after they put all this together, then they start gathering their inventory. They start looking at exactly what kind of type that they've got and how much that they're going to need. And these decisions quite often are specifically made on how long they think that they're going to be in a particular area and what will be their available space. So as you can see, from a pop-up entrepreneur, it's very different than a retail traditional entrepreneur, because they oftentimes make their decisions based upon the inventory at hand and how long that they think they're going to be there to actually deplete that inventory from their roles. Then they're going to be looking at space rental. They've already probably determined how much inventory they've got, what they're going to do. Then they're going to be sizing up where that they can get this space. Of course, the first thing that they're going to be looking at is who's going to give them very short-term rental agreements. To be honest, what they're looking for is month to month. Very few are looking for a 3-month, 6-month term. The majority of pop-up entrepreneurs are literally looking for month to month. In certain urban areas, especially based upon where the space they might be, they might even be looking from week to week or day to day in certain locations. One thing that's key to a pop-up, because they know they have a very short amount of time to attract their customers to their business, the thing that they're going to want to do is they're going to want plenty of foot traffic, and they're going to want to be seen very rapidly from the onset of their business. Another thing that they're going to be looking at is space that is more discrete or more transitional. And what we mean by this is the discrete type business is a place that is very exclusive to their product line. It's not considered to be a pop-up business, so they may want to give their customers the feeling that they do have some permanence in the district. And this lends itself to the ones that are testing the market to where they want to move to the district, to that location, or they may be testing their brand. The more transitional places are places that have been known for having pop-up transitions and constantly every 3 months new businesses moving into that particular location, to where the business owner may feel that it really doesn't matter to me as long as people buy my product from me today. I don't care if they think I'm going to be here tomorrow or not. So they want to be associated oftentimes with what they feel their long-term goals are for the business. Another thing that they go through, and again, a lot of times a pop-up business aren't associated with having employees or a major amount of employees, but in fact they often do. And it's a very temporary type position, so sometimes it's very difficult to find a quality help and to have somebody that has the work ethic that needs for a pop-up business. Virtually all pop-up businesses are very intensive in the amount of work that they need through its life. Especially if you're looking at a seasonal business. We've all been retail shopping in our downtowns in the last couple of weeks before December, and we understand from that point of view, how retail traffic is very intense and very cluttered, and you can only imagine trying to get a business going and started in the same process of also trying to sell in this. So as the statement at the bottom of the page says, it's running a pop-up business is a lot less like running a business and much more like running putting on a stage production. Then they're going to consider how they are going to market. The pop-up entrepreneur has one perplexity that is associated with this because they have a sense of short-termness. They definitely are looked upon as they are here today, gone tomorrow, just by their very definition. So they're looking at ways that they possibly can get their business model out as quickly as possible. They do not rely heavily on traditional advertising, both newspaper, radio, TV. They will do some of it as they see fit, but for the most part, they're looking for word of mouth. They're looking for location, and of course, they'll approach the social medias, all the avenues that they have to get you to make the decision to come in their store and buy now. So how can we have a proactive facilitation by your Main Street organization to promote yourselves to pop-up style ventures? One is space location. Whether you have done it now or you have it on the plan in your future to do it, I highly recommend that every Main Street community consider their pop-up business as being a definite tool in their arsenal for economic restructuring. More and more businesses do not start up because they are undercapitalized and they feel that they do not have the ability to take the risk for their particular business idea. We're losing more and more entrepreneurial startup business in this country than we've ever seen in the last 50 years. This beginning of from 2010 in this decade, we're seeing less startups than we have ever seen, and through interviews with SBA as well as some other organizations, the National Chamber of Commerce Association. They've been interviewing as to why this is coming about, and typically the individual says they just don't have the time and the space and the money to get their business started. And we know they have the business idea, and regardless of its feasibility, we know that for the vitality of the downtown market to thrive, there has to be people that take a chance and they thrive. So it's very important that you dedicate an area or a portion to these entrepreneurs that are very temporary in nature and waiting for the 1 in 10, the 1 in 5, maybe the 1 in 20 that actually make it and provide a permanence to your city. I recommend that you work with building owners, especially ones that have a host of vacancies. If they only are considering long-term leases, annual leases, explain to them the benefits of offering some short-term leases. If it's not all the time, offering it from time to time. If they typically know that the winter time is a time that they just have that they sign very few leases, see if through the months through December through February that they would provide month-to-month leases when they typically do not sign these. Another thing that you can work with on, and a lot of times pop-up businesses are very amicable to this, is that to sign a month-to-month lease with the business property owner, with the contention that if the property owner finds a more permanent tenant, that next month will simply not be honored, and the month-to-month lease goes both ways, and the pop-up business owner knows that, as well as the building tenant owner should know that also. One thing I recommend is to get realtors on board. There's a variety of ways that realtors have collected some commissions off of pop-up businesses. Sometimes if they do, we'll consider a long pop-up term lease of 3 months. The realtor may get the first month by way of commission. The other 2 months goes to the building owner. There's all kinds of ways that it can be associated, but realtors can get on board with this, and it's definitely a way that they can show vitality to their client. When they have a property listed, they can say, "Hey, we haven't been able to bring you a long-term tenant. We do have this short-term tenant. Here's the deal. Will you take it?" And of course, last but not least, for short-term leases, don't forget that begging is also in your arsenal. But again, looking at the attendee list of this webinar today, I'm pretty sure that many of you have been in the Main Street business, and you know that begging is a part of a lot of aspect of your job description, and so apply it to this concept also. The ideal space that you're looking for, of course, is vacant buildings, and you're looking for those buildings that can be turnkey for a variety of businesses. There's nothing to be said that you can't do maybe a mini feasibility study for pop-up businesses, at least to give an idea of the type of pop-up shops that would be viable in your community. You can have a host of these that are available, and look for space that would fit the bulk of these type businesses, or that that would be adaptable to that. Don't forget about the open space, the Meals on Wheels, the retailer that can bring a cart or bring a small truck, pickup truck in or a van that's got a host of inventory that they want to sell that particular day or that week or that month. Using these open spaces for these type of ventures is definitely an inexpensive way for the pop-up entrepreneur to get their visibility, and the open spaces are your most traveled areas of your community, especially in and around your parking lots and around some of your other institutions. This gives high visibility to the pop-up business, and that's exactly what they're in the market for. Oftentimes I've been asked, well, what exactly is the difference between an incubator and a pop-up business? Well, the incubator typically has a lot more in-depth strategy. They have a lot more services that are available to the tenant. The tenant shares a lot of these services, and that could even include staffing. It typically includes hardware, software. Sometimes it includes office furniture and all that type of thing. And it's the cohabitation in the incubator that makes it what it is. However, pop-up businesses can be adaptable and applied to this, and basically what I call it's the apartment style pop-up business, where that every room has a new business in that particular day, and it's available for rent on a month-to-month basis, and it gives at least the business a place to start up. This is probably the least used of pop-up style businesses that are out there. However, I'm seeing more of those popping up from time to time around the country. I've talked a lot in the past webinars, as well as many of you one-on-one, that one area that I believe that Main Streets are underserving their entrepreneurial emerging market is assisting with the business planning. Though all of you are serviced with a small business development center, having worked with small business development centers for many years, I can assure you that they are understaffed and do not have the time dedicated to especially these type of ventures. A pop-up venture does not and rarely needs a full-blown business plan. They need just some very basic information to get their business model going. And if you think about it, the whole concept of a pop-up business is in lieu of having a full-blown business plan, so that they have something to follow. The pop-up business, by its very nature, is as an entrepreneur wanting to try it on as they go, wanting to make decisions and adapt as they go. So it doesn't have to have a lengthy business plan. However, we know that more businesses that start up with some sort of business plan have a much better success rate in this country, and your Main Street can definitely offer services to them. One of those areas is what would be the cost to set up and tear down. If there's one cost that sometimes is very hard to absorb for pop-up business, especially those that have inventory or require a lot of space adaptability and modification, there can be a lot of cost to set up, and of course then almost exactly the same is the cost to tear it down and move it on. If you could work with building owners or local moving companies or other individuals in your community, help the entrepreneur understand what the feasibility of getting their business set up if they don't have the ability to do it themselves or want to offset the cost of doing it themselves. Any of the hard cost determinations. Typically in pop-up businesses, the only cost that they really have to be concerned about is their rent. Of course, the business should have some business liability insurance, but oftentimes there is not, the fraction or the consideration for utilities, if they are even applicable, are built into the rent a lot of time for the pop-up business. Another thing that you might make available to the pop-up entrepreneur is any cohabitation opportunities. Is there the backside of a retail store that's not being fully used? Is there an insurance agent or an attorney in the downtown that could dedicate 100 square feet, 200 square feet to a micro business, to a pop-up business that is willing to cohabitate with that venture? And that's something that a lot of times that you would have availability and access to that information, and the pop-up entrepreneur would not even know it's out there. One thing that I like to see, this is being done in Oklahoma, it's being done in Washington, D.C., it's been done in Maryland, it's been done in Ohio, they are definitely seeing the potential for pop-up businesses. This came about since 2008. The downturn in the economy, as we all were scrambling to keep our businesses retained in our districts, as well as trying to attract new business. The pop-up ideal has taken on a kind of a new life of its own here lately. And so they're hosting literally competitions to help with the pop-up business. What I would recommend, that if your community wanted to get involved with something like this, is to identify some locations that can be used for pop-up ventures. And again, they don't have to be owner-occupied. They can be vacant spaces, maybe even owned by the city. That could be dedicated to pop-up style businesses. What I would do is host a business plan competition, again just a mini plan competition. Award maybe your top three who has the most innovative ideas for a pop-up business. I've seen cash given out of up to $5,000 per winner, as well as some co-op advertising with the local radio station or in other avenues that are out there to give the new startup venture just a little bit of a kickstart. I would require, if anytime you do these kind of competitions, you always want to make sure that your money is invested as wisely as you possibly can. I would require them to take some sort of business training. That literally can be an evening training or maybe just a few nights of workshop training in business if they don't have on their resume that they do have basic business knowledge or experience. One thing that I would give preference to on if you're looking at doing a pop-up business plan competition is I would definitely give credence to the ones that are the nearest term, the ones that say, hey, I've got a truckload of inventory, I just need space to put it up in. The ones that are collecting local product or whatever that say, hey, I know all these contacts, literally all I have to do is once I have my space set up, I literally just need to go around and collect all the local items and sell the wares here. So keep that in mind as another thing that I would add as a part of the example. For your community, I want to leave you with today some ideas for a pop-in, pop-up, pop-out campaign. Feel free to use that term. I was in Alliance came up with the name. There's no way it's trademarked, but it just gives you an idea on what the concept that you should look for whenever you're pursuing pop-up ventures. Your strategy, first off, is to solicit pop-ups. And you've got to let them know that you are a pop-up friendly community district, and you have the space available to them to see that they will be as successful as they possibly can be. What I'd recommend is a couple of times a year host workshops hosted by your Main Street organization. That one outlines the principles and strategies of a pop-up style business, as well as give them examples and ideas that you feel would go good in the downtown area, as well as examples from other districts throughout the nation. Make this very, very simple. The pop-up entrepreneur literally does not spend a lot of in-depth strategizing their ideas. They need a registration. Literally make this one page or less. Require them to take some sort of a business planning workshop. This can be an evening type workshop, and make sure that you can show them how to turn key. To understand this just a little bit more, give them the idea of how to get their business registered. 9 times out of 10, a pop-up entrepreneur, especially one that has never done this type of venture before, will start the business as a sole proprietorship. They may have an incorporation sitting out there. They may be encouraged to set up a corporation or an LLC, but that is rare in most startup businesses. Now, if you happen to have a restaurant in the town over that's wanting to try your community out, they're already in business. They're just merely expanding over to your area, so you can skip this aspect of it. If there's going to be any zoning requirements for business, especially that would be unique or different or are applicable to the startup, to the pop-up business, make sure that those contact and applications are in this packet. And if there's any other applicable local agency or organizational approval, in other words, if you had a business planning competition, a pop-up planning competition, or if you have anything that your Main Street oversees, make sure all of that information is right there in a simple packet, and they can fill it out and get that information done immediately. And this registration process, literally with the items that I've outlined here in front of you, this literally can be done on one page, or what I like to see is just simply have it on the website, and they can do it online. I require them or encourage them to take the business planning workshop. It's always nice if you can do these impromptu. Literally, pop-up businesses sometimes come about within a week's worth of planning. An individual may say, hey, there's a space over there, I've got some product here to sell, I'm so energized, I'm so excited about this business, I'm ready to turn key on this. If they have to wait around to get their business going, they may lose interest, or the viability may tend to not look as attractive as it once did. So make sure that they have a business planning workshop. Really make their emphasis just on some legal aspects of marketing and financial. Don't spend a lot of time with anything else with the business plan. There really isn't much else that they need to do with it. Just give them some ideas that they may not have thought of. You literally can give them their pop-up MBA in 2 to 4 hours if you have somebody that can do this for them. SCORE is definitely that is pretty active in a lot of your communities. The SBDC might be willing to work with you, but my gut says you have some retired business person in your community that could maybe do these workshops for you. And again, it's not very often you would do them, but just from time to time. I recommend that you work with the pop-up venture on a turnkey as early as you possibly can. They need to have the lease agreement signed with whomever that they're going to be utilizing their property. One thing that is that we see a lot of communities kind of going the extra effort with is working with their volunteers to literally help the pop-up start in business. And this not only applies to the pop-up, but it also applies to other new businesses venturing into your community. It's always just a good handshake, especially with Main Street leading this economic restructuring ethic and purpose that you're providing, to also lend them a hand in getting their own business set up. And also tell them that you're going to be doing public and press releases, just as you would do with a new startup business. Don't forget about this pop-up business, because literally the public and press releases are going to be some of their main advertising that they'll have for the life of their business. Okay, we've come to the end of our time now. If you would, I'd like to open it up to any questions that you might have about starting pop-up businesses in your community. Either raise your hand, type in the chat, or I will be glad to turn on your microphone. Any questions about starting a pop-up business? Okay, my contact information is in front of you. Feel free to contact me post this webinar if you have any questions concerning this webinar or any others that we have had. This webinar will be hosted on the Illinois Main Street website real soon. Thank you for attending, and have a great rest of your week.